Welcome, everyone, to the Salt Lake Expositor featuring Randy Watts, Megan Connor, and Gene Judson. How you guys doing?
Doing good, Gene. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. Just completed my 800-mile trip.
Yeah, you had a long road trip.
Yeah, half yesterday, half today.
Oh, well, if anyone could die from an ear or a stiff neck, I would be dead now.
Because you had the death threshold of stiff-neckedness.
I'm on Vicodin at this moment, so I'm okay. But yeah, it's slow.
Well, I hope your neck feels better soon. That's really miserable to have to deal with.
Oh, it is.
So is Vicodin stronger than what you had before?
No, same thing.
Okay. Yeah. So yes, so if Randy's not moving for a little bit, it's not because he's freezing, he's frozen. It's because it's stiff neck.
I'm in a swivel chair, so I don't have to actually move my neck one way or the other. But yeah, it's a little miserable.
Yeah.
That's right. So did you want to say anything else before we get to the show at all? Other than Happy New Year?
I'm very anxious to talk about this case because these kids are missing and in danger. And so I want to get right to it, if that's okay.
Yeah, but we could say quick Happy New Year and then not a very Happy New Year maybe for these kids. And so, Randy, go ahead and pop on the article and we'll let Megan take it from here.
Yeah, so these are 4 children who are currently missing. They are believed to have been abducted by their biological mother. She has a TikTok account that's called Daughter of Light. She is from Jordan, Utah, and she has developed some very scary beliefs about the end times. And this all sounds horribly familiar to many of us, so we're very concerned about these kids. She had a custody arrangement with one of the dads. There are 2 dads involved here. And the 3 youngest children, I think the 3 youngest children belong to the dad whose name is Kendall Seymour, I believe. The kids were taken on an extended vacation. The custody arrangement that they have is a 50-50 arrangement. And she had the kids over Thanksgiving. And then I guess a daycare center called the dad to ask why the kids had not come back to daycare after the Thanksgiving holiday. And that's when he realized that these plans that he'd been hearing her talk about for a long time, she had decided to put that into motion. They were able to search her home and they found a checklist of things that she was supposed to do, like, getting a burner phone and doing these other things. She forged the document that's essentially a permission slip to allow her to remove the kids from the country. And the most troubling thing that the dad said, is that she doesn't have any ties to anyone in Europe at all. She had called at one point and said she was in France, but they no longer believe that that is the case. They've been looking for her and haven't been able to find her. So her TikToks reveal that she has developed some scary beliefs. She really does believe that the Salt Lake area is going to be destroyed, and that's why she felt like she needed to leave the country. So the dad actually has a GoFundMe that's up. So if it's okay, I want to share. Well, you've got the kids' pictures up, and that's what I want people to see right now. But I will just read from the GoFundMe. We're looking at in the upper left corner. That is Landon. He's 10 years old. And then I want to make sure that I get it correct. Below Landon, that is Levi, who's 8 years old. And then in the upper right corner is Hazel, who's 3. And then below Hazel is Jacob. Sorry, Hazel is 7. Below Hazel is
the oldest,
Jacob.
right?
No, the oldest is Landon. He's in the upper left.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So Landon, I believe, has a different dad than the other 3 younger kids. But this is from the GoFundMe that Kendall Seymour put together. He says, to put it bluntly, my kids have been abducted overseas by their mother. On Sunday, November 30th, my ex-wife flew to Europe. They do have surveillance video of her in the airport with the children. He says, kidnapping all 3 of my kids and her 4th child from another dad. We didn't learn until Tuesday, December 2nd, that anyone was missing. Elle forged passport documents for the kids, left behind a note dictating a delusional message from God, promising her she would be in Italy by Christmas, and a to-do list that mentioned, quote, shred paperwork, destroy identifying photos, throw away phone, purchase prepaid phone. Kendall goes on to say, I know someone who was dropped off in a foreign country at 8 years old where they didn't speak the language, and they strongly suggested that we personally go pick them up wherever they are found. This will minimize the trauma. If we can be there to get them ASAP after mom is arrested, they will feel safer and will not suffer as much wondering what is going to happen to them, to their mom, and to their future. She hasn't been located, but the FBI has good people working on it who love their job, and working together with family connections will get the kids home as soon as possible. Tickets to Europe are not cheap. We need 2 round-trip flights, perhaps a hotel, and 3 to 4 one-way return flights. We do not know yet who will pick up the 4th child. Any funds received in excess of flight costs will go towards therapy needed because of this traumatic experience. My genuine hope is that the kids are found quickly and we can pick them up while they still think they're on a vacation. This was posted just a few days ago. I believe I don't know. I found out about this 3 days ago. And so far they've raised $13,000. They were asking for a total of $12,000. But this Kendall Seymour is from Provo, and my heart is breaking for these kids and for the dad as well, who must be just really, really worried. I just put the link to the GoFundMe in the chat in case anybody's interested, but mainly I'm really interested if we have viewers that are overseas, if they can do their very best to spread the word. You can screenshot the thumbnail that I put on my channel. It has the missing poster on it, and you can post it on social media. We would really appreciate anybody who is overseas helping to get the word out about these kids missing.
This would be a great thing for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, offering their help to recover these children.
It would be wonderful if they would do that, but we know they generally do not get involved in individual matters like this.
Because they have connections in every single country, and those connections are on lists of like what we used to call home and visiting teaching. What do they call them now?
Shepherding.
Ministers.
Ministering.
Ministering.
And they could network, and there's all kinds of positive things that could come from an organization that's structured in a way like that.
Yeah.
So much good.
This is particularly terrifying because obviously she's studying at the same school as Jody Hildebrand and Ruby Frank, Lori and Chad Vallow. It sounds like, after reading the article, that she's been watching or reading, the name of the book.
Visions of Glory.
Visions of Glory. She's, her main reason for getting the kids out of the country, she says, is because of the end times coming, which we know that the church has been putting out there. And, this was the situation with Jody and Ruby, not the exact same situation, but they'll go to any length to enforce their beliefs from whatever source they got it. The kids just become secondary. And it's terrifying. Who knows what will trigger this mom, and if she will take them and have a mass, unaliving. That's what I'm scared of, because their brains are warped from all of these theories and
right. Yeah, so we
Scary.
know that they landed in Amsterdam. The tickets were then to go on to Croatia. But again, the ex-husband says that his ex-wife does not have any ties to anyone in that country as far as he knows. And that she's kind of just going off of these delusions. So Tim, I think, said, will she go to an LDS ward in Europe? And I would hope that that's maybe what would happen. And then I know we have people who watch the program who are either, physically and mentally out, or who have spouses who still attend. So hopefully somebody can help get the word out over in that area. And, a mom traveling with 4 kids is going to be, fairly uncommon in that area. And so I'm really hoping that somebody will see them and be able to report them.
And yes, the more this is shared, the better chance that the public has of locating these kiddos.
Yeah, exactly. I also want to just share her TikTok account over here, just so that you know kind of what we're dealing with. The 3 pinned TikToks that she has are about an EMP going off, about urgently getting provisions ready, Yellowstone erupting and the U.S. being decimated. And the most recent one that she posted says, brace yourselves for the end times. And it's basically, talking about being faithful and relying on God. But there also are a lot of these dreams. She had a dream that zombies were coming. She's asking people to pray with her because she's having all kinds of dreams about the end times and, getting provisions and all of those kinds of things. So this is the scary part about this for me, is that we've seen this happen before. Obviously, with the Daybell case, we saw it with the Blaise Thibodeau case, where his mom abducted him and took him to Canada, wanting him to become the one mighty and strong. I'm very concerned about the possibility that, this mom is trying to save her kids, quote unquote, save her kids from what is going on in her mind.
Right.
Alicia Ann Seymour. And so she's in custody. Is she?
I'm sorry?
They're
What was the
looking for
question?
her.
Is she in custody, or are they just looking
No.
for her?
No, they're looking for her. She's got the kids,
Okay.
and she has not been found.
Yeah, that's the scary part.
Yeah, who knows
Yeah.
what's in Croatia for her?
Well, that's the part
See all that
that
kind of white spotting on
is
the
this is like an ad video or something. Let me go ahead and
Oh gosh, did I put that up there?
I think so.
Sorry.
Let me go
about
ahead
that.
and share it's okay. I'm going to share the GoFundMe page here. So the mom is Alicia Seymour. She's 35 years old. She's 5'3". And obviously she's, traveling with these 4 kids. Although, if people haven't seen them around, it's definitely possible that they're hunkered down somewhere, hiding somewhere. So, yeah, she's a non-native speaker, so she will stand out like a sore thumb. But I'm afraid that they're just hunkered down in a hotel somewhere or something like that, not out in the open. That's what I'm worried about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so this is a good point, Kirsten. The FBI is involved. She's been charged with kidnapping, so they can arrest her overseas. I was listening to a former FBI agent talk about this case earlier, and he was saying that they do have an understanding with, the authorities in other countries when they have a situation like this where they can coordinate with law enforcement. So,
Oh, good.
also, the dad has been granted full custody, so that as soon as they do find the kids, he can
Right.
take them into his possession and bring them home. Well, except for the oldest child. This is the dad of the 3 younger kids. I don't know, obviously if they find the children, that older child will probably be taken into custody by the FBI, and they'll get Child Protective Services involved if they can't locate the other dad.
Let's see, what was the date that it occurred? I know that we first saw it yesterday.
Yeah,
But
so
how long
November
have they been
30th.
gone?
Yeah, so November 30th is when they left for Europe.
Okay.
The dad didn't realize they were missing until December 3rd because he didn't have custody of them during this time. And so,
So it's been over a month.
yeah, they've been missing for a long time. Yeah.
Gosh.
So I believe that they do have, I am not sure exactly which law enforcement agencies are involved, but, you know, I know that the FBI has the resources to use Interpol or whoever they need to use over in Europe.
You know, the TikTok channel that you showed us just spells out visions of glory with those topics and the destruction, the zombies. And
Yeah.
that terrifies me.
This is a good question, Jesse. I don't believe she speaks any second language at all. So she would not be, you know, she would be someone that would definitely stand out, constantly having to ask for help to communicate and things like that.
Just maybe Minnesotan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time in Minnesota.
I don't know if they have a video of them arriving in the airport. I literally just started looking at this for the show yesterday, and so I don't have my deep dive info like I usually do, but this is a good point too. You know, when she runs out of money, who knows what she will do? I don't know if she liquidated accounts before she went or bought gift cards, you know, or any of that. So,
Megan, to
it's a
give us
scary
a feel of
situation.
what she's like, would you be okay to play one of her TikToks, like
Sure.
one of these zombies or something like that?
And how many people does she have following her on TikTok?
It says she has 2,400 followers. Her videos are, you know, these ones that are pinned have 30, 40, 50,000 views, but most of them, you know, only have a few thousand. This is the most recent one she posted.
Brace yourselves for the end times. Come closer unto me, for there's pray. Okay, pray with me.
Sorry about
Father. Brace yourselves for the end times. Come closer unto me, for there is a spirit of deception upon you. Many hear my voice, but have become deceived by someone who sounds like me, but they are not. Ask, are you my Father in heaven? Ask, are you Yeshua HaMashiach, the one who died for me on the cross? If you get a yes, proceed. Ask me for confirmation, and I will show you in my word, or in ways only you know and understand that it is I. Psalm 23:3. He restoreth my soul.
So the rest of this is
He
just kind of
leadeth me
scripture
in the
quoting.
paths of righteousness.
Yeah.
But this is her talking about a dream.
So this is the third time I've tried posting. She is still on her phone. She's like texting somebody. And he walks up to her. And as he does this, he lunges at her and has some breakfast. Please read between the lines. For entertainment purposes only. So then everybody freezes because this lady is screaming, okay? And a terrifying sight, and then everybody just scrambles, okay? So I'm now then fast forward into a different location. I'm in a house with multiple rooms and with people that I know and some people I don't know. And I'm having a conversation, leave a room, I'm having a conversation, go do something else, and I'm talking to
So honestly, I can see why her videos don't get a lot of views. It's like a 9-minute video with her talking about a dream. that she had, that zombies are coming. But it does give a lot of insight into what her mindset is like, that she's, you know, she's having all of these dreams. She feels like someone is talking to her, telling her to prepare. And so that's what to me is really scary about it.
Hey all, Daughter of Light here. I have an urgent message. So here we go. My people need to hear this. The crack will be so loud, all of America will hear it. Parts of Alaska. And he said parts because Alaska and Mexico both have had hurricanes. And
So when she says he said, this is the voice, whatever voice is talking to her that she believes is God, is telling her these things. So
Yeah, that's very concerning.
yeah, I would too, Insightful One. I would join you for that book burning. I just want to put up the picture of the kids again here. The dad has his email address, seymourkendall@gmail.com. You know, please only contact him if you actually have seen the kids. I imagine his inbox is probably being flooded right now with well wishes and things like that. But I would say probably only helpful to contact him if you actually have some information, or if you are overseas somewhere like Amsterdam or Croatia, and you can offer boots on the ground help of some kind.
Now, don't they have the ability to track where she went through the flight records?
Yes. So that's why they were saying, you know, her tickets were to land in Amsterdam and then go on to Croatia. If she were to get on another plane and take the kids somewhere, they definitely have their passports flagged, you know, but you know, she
Well,
can
that's
also travel by train. She could rent a car. I mean, there's all kinds of different scenarios here.
She's obviously thought it out and taking
Right.
several steps to remain completely anonymous in her travels,
Right.
untrackable.
The dad was saying that she has talked about this before. She's talked about, you know, running away to Europe, and she's talked about the end times and whatever, but he never thought that, obviously, that she would go through it. So yeah, Angel, if you want to repost everything again, that would be great. I would appreciate it.
To Gene's point, I would hope that someone has contacted every bishop and leader of wards in both of those countries and let the members know to be watching out for him, because it sounds to me like she might still be a TBM active. I'm not sure. But
yeah, it's hard to
yeah.
say, because she does have that giant crucifix on her TikTok page, which is not something that most Mormons, you know, will post. However, you know, end time beliefs are not unique to Mormonism, but Mormons do focus on it a lot. So anyway, it's super concerning, just because if you really believe that the world is going to end, it puts you in a specific frame of mind where, you know, anything's possible, really, as far as what, you know, what one would do to try and not have to experience the end times.
Exactly.
Nemo the Mormon has a lot of connections in Europe, so if somebody can let Nemo the Mormon know this is happening, that'd be good too.
Yeah.
Even if he just did a short about it
with
this poster.
Yeah, Kirsten says the ex says he's no longer Mormon, but they were Mormon when they were together. It's definitely possible that she could not be Mormon anymore. And that's not really the point. The point is she has some concerning beliefs about the end times. And what keeps coming to my mind is, you know, Lori saying that she didn't want her kids to have to experience all of that destruction that was going to happen at the end of the world. So let's just hope that she has something else in mind, and that
Well,
she-
being a stranger in a strange land, she's probably going to seek help if she is a member of the church still
The
by
more
going to the church and looking for a community.
the Mormons atheist post about Yeshua is like Yeshua is used by lots of scholars and lots of non-Mormons, but it's also used by uber Mormons a lot of times as well.
Yeah, some of the more fundamental old school Mormons will use Yeshua. It just depends on, it sounds like she is more focusing on biblical end times, just having looked through her TikToks. But again, that's not really the point. The point is that she believes the world is going to end, and she removed her kids from the country because she believed the destruction was going to take place here. Now, as far as what her plans are, we don't know. But the other thing that is really concerning is that she doesn't, as far as the ex-husband knows, she does not have family or other connections in these foreign countries. And, people tend to get desperate when their plans don't go the way that they think they are. And she obviously, according to the TikTok, she believes someone is giving her instructions. That's another really scary part, is because who knows what the instructions are going to be going forward.
Yeah, right. I would love to know who he is that's instructing her and giving her these words of wisdom.
Right. It could be a real person or an imaginary person.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely know that, she believes that it's God.
Right. And there's been lots and lots of parents that unfortunately have ended their kids because they feel that God has told them that they should. And that's too bad.
Yeah, that little voice. Very scary.
And the grandfather story of that all is Abraham and his son,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. It's concerning to me that Abraham was willing to take his son's life
Exactly.
based on that voice that he heard. So, yeah.
Yeah.
It's concerning.
Yeah.
So I just saw a very brief clip of the video, of her and the kids at the airport getting on the airplane. It looks like her kids are, dressed warmly. They're all wearing coats and everything. She's got a coat with a hood. They've all got hoods and gloves and everything like that. And each of the older kids were carrying their own suitcase. So there is a mention on her TikTok of being prepared for a very cold winter, cold weather. But it looks at least like the kids are, they're dressed warmly. But I don't know. It's all just very concerning.
Yes, it is.
So we appreciate you guys listening and helping us out. Yeah, I would say definitely she's delusional. It's from her TikToks, she's not like animated and over the top. Her voice is very even, but it's very clear that she's not in reality. She really does believe someone is speaking to her, giving her instructions, making her have these dreams.
Yep. The more this word gets out, the better chances that they'll get these kiddos home safe. I hope and pray that the kiddos are alive and well.
Yeah, I hope so too. And anybody who has updates, I'll be doing updates as soon as I know anything more. I'm going to keep watching this case and I'll post something as soon as I know more.
So this is one of myriads of stories that come out of Utah that are not necessarily good news. And we're trying to cover a lot of those here on the Salt Lake Expositor, because there's danger in teaching things when someone thinks something that's outside of reality about something, it's dangerous. We know that there's lots of children that get superhero pajamas when they're kids for Christmas, and then they jump on the top bunk and they think that they can fly if they're wearing a cape. And when adults have similar things about what we would say are invented realities, that's very
Delusional.
dangerous for others, especially children that are under their care.
Yeah. I will say too, when we were sort of talking yesterday about the show today, I was on the LDS. Well, it's not LDS.org anymore. It's churchofjesuschrist.org. I was looking in their newsroom for the things that they've been reporting on over the last week. Of course, Elder Holland died, and that's been kind of the main story there. But I noticed that the last 5 or 6 articles that are listed there, they refer to themselves now as the Church of Jesus Christ. They have dropped the Latter-day Saints. And I think that's a good thing, because hopefully it will curb down some of these people focusing so much on the end times. But it's been in the name of the church for almost 200 years now. And certainly there has always been a focus on preparing for the end times. And I don't know, Gene, if do you remember how the food storage discussion started, and want to talk a little bit about that and how this all kind of went into left field?
You mean 80 years ago, 100 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. So because of wars and because of the Great Depression and other things like that, leaders of the church wanted to be sort of prepared for the end times, and it still has to do with the end times, because they're thinking there's scriptures that say wars and rumors of wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if the whole world is having a war, that pretty much means Jesus should be coming, right?
Yeah.
You'd think it's a big flag for Jesus, like lights all over, like neon lights all over the world. Jesus, return, please, fast, right? It should have been that way, but it wasn't. And then there were conservative leaders like President Benson and others that glommed onto beliefs of sort of nationalism, which became sort of Mormonism. And it's always been Mormonism as a thing. We're special people. We're going to usher in the return of Jesus, right? And so what were you going to add to that?
Well, I was just going to say, if I remember correctly, and by the way, YJ Bennett, thank you for this. It says, according to Kendall Seymour, who's the dad, Alicia went to Dubrovnik first, then to Amsterdam. There's one LDS temple in the Netherlands and 24 congregations. So hopefully she's made contact with some members there, and they're helping her get help and helping the kids. But they also may not realize, I'm sure they don't, because I'm sure she didn't tell them, that she's not the custodial parent at this time. I'm sure she probably hasn't let people know that the kids are supposed to be in the United States with their dad right now. Right. But I always think of food storage. I think of when the Teton Dam broke and flooded the whole area there in Idaho. And that was when the leadership of the LDS Church started counseling the members to have an extra supply of food. It didn't start out as a year supply, but it was, to have extra food in case of an emergency. And I feel like that snowballed,
and actually, Megan, since I'm the oldest member of the panel by far,
yes,
By far, yeah.
7 whole days older than Randy. We in the 60s, it was 2 years supply.
Okay.
And in the 70s, it kind of trickled to just like, well, try at least 1 year. And then
1 year is already a lot.
And then when the Teton disaster happened, that was in the late 70s, I believe, right?
I think so, yeah.
Floods. the flood that almost flooded
78
Rick's
maybe.
college.
Yeah.
That probably just re-emphasized the church to say 1 year to start doing the 1 year. So since you're a young whippersnapper, that probably felt like the start to you. But just like our great grandparents probably were told that they were the generation that was going to usher in Jesus, that those things have been happening every single generation since then.
Yeah.
You know, Gene, in 1969, the bishopric, well, the general authorities of the church assigned bishops to assign families in their wards to live off of their 2-year supply for 1 month. And there were 6 families from our ward, and we were one of them. And so I wasn't allowed to, trade anything for lunch at school. I wasn't allowed to have school lunch. Everything had to come from whatever supplies we had. And we ate, oh my gosh, I could never look at cracked wheat again.
Yes, cracked wheat.
Yeah.
I
And
was going to say that.
and all these things that you can store, peanut
Powdered
butter,
milk is Megan's
powdered
favorite.
milk. Oh, that's so gross.
Hate the
But
powdered
yeah.
milk.
And the reason that they assigned these families is because they told us that the second coming was nigh, and that, we needed to be sure that we were prepared. So, yeah. So back then they were saying, hey, it's about to happen.
Right.
And my parents ate that up. They're like, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it happened within the next 6 to 8 months. And I'm a 10-year-old. I'm like, I don't want this to happen right now. I still need to grow up.
In
And
fact,
it was very scary for me, actually.
I think that the announcing of the temples just in the locale and sending out leaders to the locales wherever they're going to announce new temples is a way for them to wink at the members and say, you know why you guys are getting a temple? Wink, wink. And everybody's going to think, oh, it's because Jesus is coming really soon. We better get to work and do all the work for our dead and get prepared to meet our maker. Right. And so,
Right.
So yes, that's where the church is not doing it. They should be called the Church of Jesus Christ of, hey, everybody, Jesus isn't coming for 5,000 more years
Right.
in order to
Right.
correct all the errors.
Right. But they can't do that because part of their message is fear-based.
Right.
If people aren't afraid that the world is going to end and Jesus is going to come, then they would live lascivious lives and they would never work for the church or give the church their money. I think I know for certain that Mormons believe that tithing is fire insurance.
Right.
Do you mind if I
Here's the
play
exact
a
date
quick
of that.
clip?
Go right ahead.
He made a promise to his children that he would open the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Not only that, tithing will keep your name enrolled among the people of God and protect you in the day of vengeance and burning.
Well, good to know. Yeah.
Well, see, this sister only needed to pay her tithing. Maybe she thought it was cheaper to go to Europe than pay tithing.
It is
I don't know.
cheaper to go to Europe than pay tithing. I actually just received a note from a friend. Let me just read really quickly. It says that Alicia told one of the fathers that she was looking for a permanent residence. And I didn't mention this before, but she said she left a voicemail with one of the 2 fathers in which she claimed to be in France with the kids. But the investigators don't think that that's true. And then also DPS said that her car or her vehicle was left in a parking lot at the Salt Lake City International Airport. It's important to note that these tickets were one-way tickets. So she is not planning to return to the United States. And yeah, so basically that she's looking for permanent residence. So that maybe gives me a little bit of hope.
Well,
Oh, right. That she had a longer term plan.
Right.
I watched an interesting video this week, and I wish I would have noted who it was, but she was saying that she believes that the second coming has already occurred, and that this is the 1,000 years where Satan is loosed, so that to cause all this, what's going on in our world right now. She believes this is 1,000 years, and Christ has already come. And at the end of this 1,000 years, then, of course, the all of that will stop and we'll move on. But it was kind of an interesting theory because she's right. Everything that it was listing is happening in the world right now. I don't mean that she's right that the second coming has happened. I have no clue.
Right.
But there's so many theories out there, and people conjecturing about how it is and how it's going to be. And
Satan
sometimes
could be
they
in
get-
charge, and Satan could have $300 billion in the bank. You never know.
right? Yeah, they need that for a rainy day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been raining for quite a while, so I really don't know what they're waiting for. And if there is a real Jesus and he does get here at some point, I don't think he's going to need a slush fund. I really don't.
You would think he could probably find a way without having to dip into the $300 billion of the church.
Right.
Did we want to segue into a couple of other stories?
Yeah, absolutely. Just one last thing. This friend sent me that basically says investigators are assuming that she may be using new identities or receiving aid from groups that share her beliefs. So,
Here you go.
Oh, interesting. Wow. Well, there's so many schools of thought out there, and so many people who cast aside the good for the bad. And that's my attempt at a segue. But I did know that there was a story that came out that a woman was arrested for having kissing a 17-year-old student of hers. And this is her. And she was arrested. And I believe that she was a Relief Society president at one time, wasn't she?
She was a
Megan?
primary president, which means
Primary president.
over the children's organization in the congregation.
Gotcha.
And primary
Yeah.
only goes up to 12. So maybe the children weren't in danger of her, but the young men's program might have been on the watch for her. You never know.
Well,
Yeah.
it's just her. It's just the fact that she cast aside her teachings and beliefs for what I guess she considered pleasure. And so many people are so willing to do that. Do it in the name of heaven. You can justify it in the end.
Real
Yeah.
for life.
What goes through the minds of people like this who want to mess around with children, or how they justify it or whatever. But this woman also worked in a middle school in the office, and so she was around younger kids than the 17-year-old. And I guess what happened is that somebody reported this incident to the police, and then they talked to the boy the following day, and he corroborated the story.
Wow.
And from what you read, it sounded like he didn't really necessarily like what was happening, but he kind of let it happen.
Well, yeah, maybe he didn't know how to react or didn't know who to tell, or maybe he was embarrassed. This is one of those reasons why, child abuse doesn't get reported as often as, it should. A lot of times the victims are embarrassed about what's happened, or they're ashamed, or they think it's their fault. And certainly in Mormonism, there is a very pervasive kind of teaching that if something like this happens to you, that you have to consider, what did you do to bring this on yourself?
Exactly. She was 44. And I don't even know how that starts. When you're a 17-year-old high school student, how does that even start when you're kissing, your teacher is kissing you?
Well, and
'Cause I
that's
don't
why.
think
So first of all, I want to point out she was not his teacher. She worked in the office at a middle school. So I don't think it was the same school
Oh,
that the boy attended.
you're right.
But
Yeah.
that's why we have to be so vigilant about grooming, because that's how this starts. It
So
starts
candy
with
could
an
be part of it.
adult. It could, any kind of enticement, it starts with an adult getting close to a child by making them feel comfortable. And, in many, many cases, a lot of times it's complimenting the child, making them feel special, giving them gifts, and then increasing levels of closeness, like touching their shoulder and saying, "Oh, I really like your shirt," and then the touching gets more pervasive, or it gets longer, or whatever the case is. The grooming part of it is the most dangerous part for these kids, because they don't really know what to think of it. It's just an adult talking to them. Well, it made me feel weird, but it wasn't really wrong. And what I've talked, one of the best things that I've heard is a woman who is a therapist for children who have been abused. And she said that you should ask your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, whenever you have a moment to just speak with the child, how are things going? How are you feeling about life? And then asking them a question like, do you have any tricky people in your life? Are there any tricky people in your life? Or are you feeling weird about any tricky people in your life? Because that is a good, you're not just going to come out and say, did someone touch you inappropriately? Because that's usually going to shut a kid down. But tricky people is a good question for kids, because they like to talk about that. Yeah, there's this kid, in my class who's tricky. He's always trying to get me to give him my lunch money. Okay, well, that's a tricky person. Do you have any tricky adults? Or do you ever have any adults who are trying to trick you or make you think something's weird or situation? It's a good conversation starter for your kids, and to check in often.
There's a lot of tricky people out there.
Some tricky people build Harry Potter playrooms in their houses.
Yeah. It goes a little bit beyond for parents, just looking up the offender registry in your neighborhood, and making sure your kids don't go past that house or whatever. It goes to also just, again, having a relationship with your kids where they feel comfortable telling you things. And that starts with listening to everything that they say, even when they've told you the same thing 4 times. And also just letting them know that, hey, if you have something that's difficult to talk about, I just want to listen. I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to get mad. A lot of kids don't tell their parents because they're uncomfortable with the conversation. A lot of kids don't want to get the other adult in trouble. So, planting the idea with your kids that your safety and your happiness and your peace is more important than any adult. Adult can take care of themselves, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Megan, you could probably also do your floodlit report, sans the information that can't get out right now.
Yeah. So I always like to check floodlit.org to see what is new in the LDS SA world. So I will actually just go ahead and share it so that people can get familiar with what the site looks like. I highly recommend people going to this site frequently and checking out what is going on. So I just wanted to point out these two cases. Actually, there were several things that have happened since the last time we did a report. You can see this one from December 30th, former Zions Bank Vice President Spencer Pratt sentenced on December 31st to charges related to 10 years of alleged SA of 2 children. Again, that's Spanish Fork, Utah. And he pled guilty and he was sentenced on December 31st. Now, why are we sharing these things that, you know, the case is closed, the person's being sentenced, they're going to jail? The reason I like to share these, and I shouldn't say like, I don't like anything about the situation, but I think it's important to share these stories because of the way that abusers get around in the Mormon church. A lot of times these guys and women too will move from ward to ward and have different callings and be in different locations. And people may not even know, oh my gosh, I was in the same ward as this guy at some point. And so anyway, the name is Spencer Merrill Pratt. He is located in Spanish Fork, Utah. And he pled guilty and was sentenced. And then I also wanted to talk about a case from the past, Michael Neff, who went to prison in Idaho. It says he went to prison in Idaho for one of the most shocking cases in county history. He died on December 13th, and his obituary says, quote, he leaves a great legacy of faith and repentance. That always bothers me when the obituary glosses over the fact that he was a convicted offender. And just going to show you why it's so important to call a spade, his son, Todd Neff, is in Washington in prison for SA.
It's quite a legacy.
Right?
So sure, he leaves a legacy of faith and repentance and SA. So
It can happen anywhere. It can
Yep.
happen in your church building. It can happen at your dentist office. The doctors, there's so many places where kids and adults are so vulnerable that, and I have a story to share after we're done with this particular topic, but go ahead.
yeah, I want to address Trevor's joke comment here. That, you know, this really is, it's tongue in cheek. I'm sure Trevor is being tongue in cheek about this, but this is really the attitude of the leaders in the LDS church, is that if the person repents, that we should forget that they even had a problem. And that's where you get things like the Wade Christofferson scandal, where he was excommunicated from the church. And then once he was rebaptized, that whole SA that he was accused of back in the 80s doesn't go on his record. And then he can once again have callings that give him access to youth and children.
Or it could go on his record, and then some people up high can take it off his record so that future people don't know about it.
Exactly. And in their mind, if the person has gone through the repentance process and they have, you know, made everything right between them and their bishop, then there's no problem anymore. And we don't have to worry about them anymore. They believe that there's like a magic wand that gets waved. But the issue is that we know from science that SA of children is disordered thinking. If you're acting on these desires for children, obviously you need help, mental health help, not just faith and repentance and prayers. And so the risk of recidivism or reoffending, when you look at it, obviously it's complicated. It depends on the case and the situation and all of that kind of stuff. But when you look out 20 years from somebody who's an offender, the risk of reoffending is extremely high. It's something like 70%. So it is really, really important that we continue to shed a light on this and continue to talk about this, because we are hoping to protect future victims, future children from being
That's
harmed.
a good point. Good point, Megan. Just because you repent doesn't mean that your desires have gone away.
Exactly.
Right. Since the church is helping protect the perpetrators, somebody has to help protect the children.
That's right.
Yeah. And that's what we're trying to do here. You know, we're presenting this information to our listeners and hopefully to way more than who are listening now. But we want them to be aware. We want them to take action. We want them to know where to go and who to talk to. Because 6 months ago, I wouldn't have had any idea. Who do I talk to? What do I call their bishop? Well, we know that that certainly isn't the case. It needs to be reported to an agency like floodlight.org. And because the church will just sweep it under the carpet and keep it hidden.
Yeah.
And that ain't right.
And I also just want to point out that SA children is not a sin. It's a crime. And it needs to be reported as a crime.
Exactly. You know, I mentioned earlier that it can happen anywhere. And I just want to play a little snippet of a video that Megan Hayes put out regarding bishops in the church who have been arrested for SA. 22 of them, actually, on record. Dentists. Did I say dentists?
Bishops, but you meant dentists.
I meant dentists. Yeah.
Maybe you had a fear of bishops just as much as you had a fear of dentists growing up.
I did fear the bishops because they were scary to me. And it's like they're watching me and judging me, and literally, you know, that's what they do. Yeah, I was a little intimidated by the bishop. Anyway, if you don't mind, I'll play a little bit of this.
Good morning, everyone. Here's your special report today. We are going to learn about some Mormon dentists. First, in 1999, John Goodrich, an Idaho dentist who was also a bishop with the Mormon Church, accompanied his teenage daughter Chelsea on a school field trip to the East Coast. During a stay in colonial Williamsburg, Virginia, he allegedly SA'd her, as she later claimed he had done since she was at least 9. And next from CNN, a smiling James Craig appears online promoting his Colorado dental practice, saying his treatment philosophy begins with sincerely listening to the patient and wanting to find out more about where they're coming from and what they're looking for and what they want. I love creating an environment where people are surprised at how comfortable they are, he says in the YouTube video. A starkly different portrait of the dentist and father of 6 emerges in an affidavit of probable cause for an arrest warrant accusing him of killing his wife by lacing her protein shakes with poison in 2023. On what was to be the first week of Craig's trial, prosecutors and police accused him of plotting murders from behind bars, including that of an Aurora detective who investigated the case. And another.
So it goes on and on. All 22 cases, and I guess it's not just SA. A lot of it is, but murder as well.
And also fraud and financial crimes. And
Randy, post a link to that in the chat.
I will. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, yes, we desire all to receive generally unquotable.
yeah, there is definitely something about not just dentists. I mean, dentists lately, it seems like, Mormon dentists, but also Mormon physicians, you know, Mormon businessmen. I think that there is, and forgive me because present company excluded, there is an ideal in Mormonism that Mormon men are just exceptional and that they just deserve whatever they deserve to get whatever they want because God is blessing them for being righteous.
Exactly.
We're all future prophets.
Yes, future prophets and future gods.
and future gods.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just posted the link in case any of you want to watch that whole thing. It's very sobering. My nephew and all of his brothers, I have 3 nephews who are dentists, and I had to send this to them and say, what do they have, a course in dental school about being a scoundrel?
Well, you could say, be careful, not to like cover up their crimes, but be careful to not think about using their offices to commit crimes.
Right.
Yeah, and that's, one of the reasons why, parents need to be especially vigilant with their children in dentist's office, in doctor's office, at the chiropractor. If your kid is receiving a treatment, you should be in the room. And not only that, but I reported this on my channel a long time ago that I was listening to an interview with an offender. And he was saying that if he knew that a child had a powerful person in their life, he would stay away from that child. And he said all it took for someone to be powerful is he didn't mean necessarily physically strong. He meant somebody who was willing to come up to him and look him in the eye and introduce themselves and advocate for the child in some way. So he said, if they walk right up to me, they shake my hand, they look me in the eye and say, hey, I'm John's dad, and I'm going to be here for the whole practice or whatever it was. He knew that he should probably stay away from that kid. It's the kid who gets dropped off with the parent not really paying attention to where they're going. You never really talk to the parent. The parent doesn't ever introduce themselves. They just drop the kid off and, maybe they pick the kid up late. Those are the kinds of kids that get targeted oftentimes because, they're more isolated. Their parents aren't as involved.
Parents tend to be naive sometimes. I used to be a massage therapist. Well, I still am, but I don't practice anymore. But it was a side gig for me, and I had a day spa. And on more than one occasion, moms would bring their daughters in to have a full body massage. And, if these daughters, one particularly, she was 12 years old. And, she was an actress. She did commercials. And she looked like she was about 18, but she was 12. And I just told mom, as I did every mom that brought their daughter in, I said, look, this is a full body massage. And, I go head to toe. And if you want your daughter to be massaged, I'm either going to have to get a female massage therapist or you're going to need to come in and sit in the room. And she actually got upset with me. I said, I can't do this. And I said, I'm a middle-aged guy. And, your daughter is only 12 years old. I said, and she said, well, we do this all the time. And I'm like, well, I want to tell you that you shouldn't. Don't do this. I told all the moms. I said, either you come and sit in the room or I get another therapist to come, because I don't even want to put myself in the position where a kid can make an accusation and I don't have any defense. But they're naive, these parents. They're like, oh, that's just in the news, but it won't happen to me or my child.
Yeah. A lot of us, when I was a young mom, I didn't think about things like that. Even though I had been a victim myself, I hadn't processed through any of that trauma yet. And so I was very trusting of church members. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that there was a huge, problem in the church because nobody talked about it when I was younger. And so, I was very trusting of all the church member people. And, even though I would always introduce myself to my kids' parents and everything. The parents of my kids' friends would always introduce myself and be involved in that way. But, there were some times when I would just drop them off and let them go do their thing. And I was way too trusting as a younger parent. So
many of us were, yeah.
So Megan, I understand like a vast majority of the child SA is by close people, right? Like relatives.
Yes.
And so, interestingly enough, families don't like to air dirty laundry. And so that could be why people don't know more about the protections that they need to take.
Right. Right. Exactly. And a lot of families will, cover up for an offender or perpetrator to keep the peace in the family. And I think that's probably, the worst type of offending, but it's all too common, unfortunately. The great majority of kids who are groomed and victimized and especially trafficked, it's done to them by their own family members, by the people who are closest to them. And so it's, it's so important to have those open conversations with kids. And, family secrets don't, protect anybody really. They protect the offender. And if that's really what you want to do is protect the offender, then you probably should think about your priorities, because it's much more important to protect children. I've never understood why, people just want to say, well, oh, it was in the past. He doesn't do that anymore, or she doesn't do that anymore. Let's just not talk about it. He's too old to offend, or she's too old to reoffend. It never goes away. And so,
Right.
me personally, I would rather have a family member in jail than to have a child in therapy or worse.
And Mormon wards and religious congregations consider themselves family as well, to Peter's point.
Yeah.
And churches go to great lengths to hide the CSA. Yep, the dirty laundry. People don't want the dirty laundry to get out, even though it could protect people.
Yeah, exactly. And it's more about protecting the reputation of the church than it is about protecting any, potential future victims. And so that's why it's important for those of us who know these things to talk about them, to spread the information, and to educate other people, hopefully to save future children from becoming victimized.
And the church, maybe they don't, if they don't want their organization to have bad publicity, especially if their organization is going to bring to pass the return of Jesus.
And we've emphasized many times that if you see anything suspicious, if you see anything just questionable, don't go to the bishop, don't go to the church, go to the police, go to floodlit.org. Make sure that the world knows. You go to the bishop, it's just going to disappear.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with, calling the police to make a report, even if you don't have all the information. Call CPS to make a report, even if you don't have all the information. CPS, the police, they're going to do their own investigation. And if it is nothing, then nothing bad will come of it. But if it turns out that, it was something, I would much rather make a report and have it be nothing than have it be the other way around.
Exactly. Better safe than sorry.
Yeah. And I do want to point out too that SA of children is not a uniquely Mormon problem. It doesn't only happen in the LDS Church, of course, but the LDS Church has a reputation for covering these things up in order to protect the name of the church. And there are other churches who have done that too. Of course, there was a big Catholic scandal that continues to be a problem in the Catholic Church as well. But, talking about specifically the LDS cases, it's close to me because I still have loved ones who are in the church and have children in the church. I really think that the laws need to change. I think that, it's not in every state. I think in every single state that anyone who works with children should be a mandated reporter, including church clergy. And that's not the case in every state. And I think Europe is much better at protecting children than we are. Definitely in the UK, they have a lot better protections for children there. But for the LDS Church, they really could and should do background checks on anybody who is working with children, and they should make everybody mandated reporters.
And there should be a degree of training too. The church should implement some type of training,
Mhm.
how to recognize it and how to not do it. I know at Disney, we had classes all the time on how to recognize something suspicious and how to report it. In the church, there's no vetting, there's no training. Maybe if someone was made aware through all this training that this can happen, people would be way more vigilant and, watch out for their brothers and sisters and their kids.
And if you're new to the show, we talk about the Architecture of Abuse podcast series done by Alessa Grenfell and friends. And that's one of our first shows. It's our second show. So if you're new to our show and you want to learn more about the Architecture of Abuse, you can either go to the Architecture of Abuse podcast or go to our show. I put the link in the chat and right there.
Hey, Susan Vallow, good to see you. And Hallie, to answer your question, Floodlit does research cases. They also accept court documents. If you have court documents from a case, they will take a report of SA, even if your case was never prosecuted. They can't necessarily name the person, but they can at least put the location and put the story in their database so that if it sounds familiar to another victim, then it's a place for victims to be able to collaborate and share if they care to.
Exactly.
So Brendan says they're an administrative assistant at a university, doesn't work with children, and still a mandated reporter, and takes training every year.
Yep.
And so
Yeah, we should also mention, by the way, there's lots of good resources out there where you can get educated on how to spot problems with children. And I'll look up some of those resources and put them in the show notes afterwards. But if you want to be educated on how to spot grooming and how to protect children, there are a lot of really good resources out there for that.
Yes. Yeah, if we work together as a team, we might accomplish something. Let the members know, let the non-members know, let everyone know. Save the kids. And don't just assume that they're safe when they're with a church member or a professional.
Right.
Oh yeah, actually I've heard of this before that Trevor says. It's just a test.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The belief that I agreed to go through the trials I was going to go through before I came to Earth, that haunted me for a really long time. Because I believed, well, this is what God wanted me to go through so that I would learn something. That's really messed up. If something like that happened to you, it was not God teaching you a lesson. Let's just put that out of everybody's mind. That's something that never should be taught to children.
It really bothered me when my wife passed away, how so many people would tell me that God needed her up there for special assignment or whatever. God needed her spirit. Yeah, you know what? That's just pure crap.
Yeah.
People get cancer, people die, people are in accidents. When a plane crashes, I had a TBM family member tell me that, if someone dies, it's because God wanted them and needed them up there. And I said, so when a plane crashes and it kills 340 people, every one of those people were assigned to go up there because they were needed in the life hereafter. It sounds like a bunch of BS to me.
Yeah.
I don't accept that.
Well, before we sign off here, I would like to put the picture back up one more time of the missing kids who were taken by their mom to Europe. She is now considered, she's the non-custodial parent. She did kidnap or abduct these children. She took them to Europe, forging the document. There's a paper that you're supposed to have with the other parent giving permission for the kids to travel outside of the country. Allegedly, she forged that document, and she flew to Amsterdam and then to Croatia, and is possibly seeking a permanent residence there or mixing with other people who have end times beliefs. So again, if you're in that area and you're able to share on social media, share the kids' pictures, it would be great. Again, the kids' names are Landon, Levi, Hazel, and Jacob. So Landon is the older child. This is Levi, Hazel here, and then Jacob is just 4 years old. We appreciate you helping us get the word out.
And just in case anybody that is familiar with this person, knows them personally, or knows people that know them, you might have information that's valuable to the authorities somehow. Contact the authorities if you have had any contact with this family. And so that's
again, her name is Alicia Seymour, and she is from, is it Jordan, Utah? I'm fairly certain. Anyone?
I think so. Southern Utah Valley, whatever.
West Jordan. Sorry.
West Jordan.
Yes, and the FBI is involved, and so if you have a tip, you can call the FBI tip line. You can also call the West Jordan Police Department, and then Kendall did put his email address there on the GoFundMe as well. But again, I think calling law enforcement would be a better idea.
Right.
So in a small way, this story happened in extended family of mine on my wife's side. The father basically said they were going to take the kids out for ice cream and then took them to his mother's house. And that's where he was actually going to stay as they were sort of splitting up. But instead of just talking the problems out and getting therapy and getting help, they thought that was the best tack to take. And they have been restored. They are now in conversation with each other. And that's the way to go. If you're having problems, get some help, professional help. And the church has money, and they actually, my understanding is you can go to a bishop, even if you haven't been going very much. If you're in a ward, you can go to a bishop and ask them to get you some free mental health. I mean, it'll be church services, right? But it'll be a starting place. So,
yeah.
Yes.
Well, thanks, Gene and Randy. Appreciate you guys, as always, keeping everybody updated on what's going on with the church and the members.
Of course. Yeah. It's I look at it as a kind of a duty for we as the expositors to let people know, because this show is not a comedy show. It's not specifically for entertainment. This show is how we can help. What can we do to eliminate some of these issues that we bring up, especially in this arena? So we appreciate every listener that's listening. And if you'd share this, get the word out, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, and the spirit of the expositor is to bring bad behavior to light. Because I know we've talked about this before, guys. When I was a TBM, I was fully in the church. People didn't talk about these kinds of things. People did not talk about Mormons behaving badly because it was a blight on the church's reputation and on the reputation of the individuals. And so people didn't talk about other people's bad behavior. And then that just creates an environment where they can continue harming people. And so that's why I think talking about these cases is really important.
Exactly.
And ET Lizard, there is always snark allowed. Snark will always be allowed. But some of these issues are obviously sobering and serious, and we want to give them the weight that they deserve. But
Right. It's
I'll
allowed.
always
But it's
welcome
not.
snark.
It's not the starting point of our program.
Are you kidding? If snark wasn't allowed, Trevor Larson would get blocked.
That's right.
That's why he says every show I watch is a comedy show.
Well, here's a little snark for y'all. I am wearing the Seahawks outfit today with the green glasses in honor of their incredible victory last night. And so I think that all of you as listeners should run to your rooms, put on anything lime green and navy blue to celebrate
Yes.
with me.
Our thoughts and prayers are with the Seahawks today with their impending victory.
They already did their victory
Yes.
last night. They won.
Yeah.
And Margaret, thank you for the super sticker. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Mark.
That's right. So also at the spirit of the expositor is to have a democratization of the news. And so if in the future, if you want to come on and say something about the current things, you can say in the chat, you'd like to come on, and we'll put the link to the live in the chat so that you can join. And we also have a little after show. Tim, do you just want to be on the after show, or do you want to come on to the show? Put your thumbs up if you want to come in right now. Down.
He says
Okay.
thumbs down. He does not want to appear on
After
camera.
show only. So so I put the link in the chat if anybody else wants to come and say hi. And if they want to say something newsy that they didn't want to report live, that's also as well. We can talk about that. But thanks everyone for watching. It's 2026. And I wonder if we almost should say the date of the show and say, and Jesus is not here yet. But,
It is Sunday, January 4th, 2026. And so far, no Jesus has shown up.
Jesus. So there you go.
We need to get a countdown and
Oh,
see
yeah.
how long it takes for Jesus to come.
And
Well,
we should always do this. No
The
matter.
Lord does not need your money.
That's right. Don't forget.
If we forget to put that up before we close the show, somebody in the chat remind us that the Lord doesn't need your money.
That's right. See you tomorrow night on Ex-Mormon Snark for family night. Enjoy
Don't
your
miss
Sunday.
that. You'll love it.
Tuesdays with Tim, we're going to talk about New Year's resolutions.
Awesome.
So
That's
those
right.
theoretically are revelations that could be what do you call it when you
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
There you go.
So I'm going to talk about some dietary plan that I'm going to try to do for at least 1 week
Yeah.
Awesome.
of the
Yeah.
of the coming 52. So anyway,
Yeah, I want to report on that, by the way, Gene. I want
that's
you
the
to
one
report
thing
to
is
us how
if
you're
I
doing
do
with
it in front of a bunch of people, I will have what's it called, like buddy system or
Yeah.
feedback or support, all those things.
Yeah, you'll have to eat your ice cream in your room or something. Can't do it on stage here.
That's right.
Jesse, we could count up how many days overdue Jesus is, but I don't know where we would start from. Do we start from the day before my grandfather died, since his patriarchal blessing said he would see Jesus come? I don't know. What do we do? We'll have to figure that one out.
I think Paul the Apostle was expecting Jesus. That's how
Yeah.
he got his church started.
Pretty much, yeah.
You know,
It's
at,
like,
at
hey.
least Joseph and Brigham.
Yeah, at least Joseph and Brigham. Yeah, for sure. All right,
Hallie,
guys.
you're just here for the after show? Okay. All right.
Take care.
Thanks everybody for
Love
watching.
y'all.
And we will see you next time. And I'm going to end the stream and we'll all